Hopefully everyone can see this. Let me know if that works.
Yep, we can see it great.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, everyone. So we're here today to talk about the City of Washburn bike park concept planning. Ryan and I are both part of IMBA Trail Solutions. I've been the project manager on this project, and Ryan's planner on this project with me. Just a little bit of background. So the International Mountain Bicycling Association, our mission is to create, enhance, and protect great places to ride mountain bikes. And while we are a mountain bike focused organization, our efforts and advocacy over the last 30 years have helped inform and create sustainable trails that benefit a range of user groups and for people who enjoy using trails and while supporting and protecting stewardship of public lands. Trail Solutions is a subsidiary of IMBA. We are the trail development program that provides services from planning, design, construction, and education. And we wrote a series of books over the years that support trail development, best land management practices, sustainable trail, and bike parks. Our latest book is actually the Mountain Bike Trail Development Guide, which we worked in collaboration with Minnesota DNR, Solid Trails, and that just came out recently. So this project for the City of Washburn, we've been working on this since probably about August of this last year. It began with a series of meetings and desktop analysis to understand the project area and what everyone was looking for to come out of this project. So we started with an initial ownership analysis to understand the project site at the City of Washburn waterfront, identifying areas that were owned by the City of Washburn or right-of-way properties, private properties, or other county properties. That set the stage for the selection of our project areas. And out of that, we selected 3 project areas with enough acreage to have the potential to support bike-related facilities. We also identified a 4th further outside of town to understand if there was another option within the city or outside of the city as another potential. But the 3 main sites were the first site is off of Holman Avenue. The second site is along Omaha. And the third site is near the Memorial Park. So looking at those sites and having an understanding, we were really looking at like, what's the user experience? What are they looking for? What are people looking for? And identifying those things. And, you know, some of the main components of that is family and social time, exploring nature, challenge, play, and exercise. And from that, there's a broad range of bike optimized experiences that meet those needs. Within this project, we are really focused on the bike park facilities and how those relate to the different sites. But there is a broad spectrum from single track trails to pump tracks to bike parks to competition areas for youth leagues like the NICA League in town. And we're just going to walk through some of those different trail experiences first, and then we'll get into some more of the site analysis. I'm going to let Ryan walk through some of these as we go.
Yeah, so with our concepts that we'll show a little bit later, we will show a wide variety of all these different types of trails. So I'll just give a brief overview of each of these trail types. So the traditional shared use single track, it's going to be a pretty small corridor. If you're familiar with it, it's going to be roughly 36 inches wide. These types of trails are typically the beginner to the intermediate level, which allows the entry-level riders and as well as serving other groups such as walkers, hikers, and runners. This isn't specifically just a mountain bike trail. These trails have smaller footprints, and then they will be able to serve a wider variety of people. So with these trails, these are typically going to be seen up like Ashua Bay, and then over in Duluth and Cuyuna are going to be some of the closest for that one. The next one down is going to be the mountain bike optimized trails. So these are going to be a little bit larger size. They're going to be about 40 inches wide. These are anywhere from that beginner to the advanced level. So with these trails, they are purpose built, which means they are specifically for mountain bikes. So they're going to have jumps, berms, rocks, and other kinds of trail features specifically for bikes. This doesn't mean that walkers and hikers aren't able to use it. It just means it might be a little bit more challenging for those users. These again are shown on here as examples over in Duluth, Keene, and then Homebrew are some of the famous trails over there. The next one here is going to be a larger focus for both the concepts that we're going to be showing. So this is what we would consider here at IMBA a bike park. These are specifically designed and constructed for bike riders. Many of these are promoted for bike features and promoted for raising your skill level as a biker. With these, generally the smaller parks are going to range anywhere from 1 to 2 acres, and then they can go all the way up to 20+ acres on some of the bigger parks that we've seen. That is dependent on the slope of where you're putting this park, and then also the type of landscape to where you're going to be adding that. Primarily, these are made from either a natural surface or a dirt material, or in a lot of the cases, they're going to be an asphalt or a chip seal surfacing, such as what you're going to see on roads. We prefer a lot of the bike parks or pump tracks that we'll talk about a little bit earlier or later in this to be an asphalt or a hard surface, just because of the maintenance cost. We can go into that a little bit later, but with these, they're going to have prefabricated metal and wood features, which are a lot of the jump features that you're going to be seeing in these imagery. These do have a higher cost, but they do last much longer. The next ones here are going to be your mountain bike skills trails. So with these are also specifically designed for mountain bikers. These are going to be a little bit wider trails that can be up to 60 inches, maybe a little bit wider than that, but they're going to incorporate natural rock prefabricated features, which are going to be metal and wood combination, as you can see in that first image there. And they also can have bridges, different types of rollers, wooden obstacles. These are going to be slower speed trails, and then the length of these are going to be also a little bit shorter. Asheville Bay has some of these features that may be rock, and then probably the closest one is going to be Cuyuna, which has a large skills park before you get onto the trails. On to the next one here, which is going to be the pump track or the pump parks. These are hard surface skill building zones, essentially. They can be natural surface of dirt, but here at IMBA, we don't recommend that just because of the maintenance costs, and they do fall apart quite quickly. So anything that we're going to be showing is going to be a hard surface. Typically, pump tracks are going to be asphalt, but they also do come in modular systems, which we'll talk about. The modular systems can be concrete or composite. And then the difference, we can walk through all the difference, but here at IMBA, we typically consider a pump track as an all wheels feature, meaning anything with wheels can typically ride on those. So with that being said, we'll walk into essentially what the difference is between the two. So a modular pump track is different pieces all put together in order to be one cohesive unit. So if you're looking at the top left image, that black and white area, those are all the different pieces and parts that come along with these. So these can be concrete, or they can be a hard composite, as you can see down in the bottom right. These are going to be generally a little bit cheaper than what you're going to see in the asphalt, just because of the construction. So essentially, a company will send out one of these pieces, and you put it together with a crane, bolts, and then just different construction methodology. On to the next one there, Liz. Yeah, so this is a little bit more of that modular system. It comes in singular straights as well, but the top two imagery, those are going to be those concrete pieces, which are going to be much heavier, obviously, than what you're going to see in the composite, but both of these objects are going to be way cheaper than the asphalt. This is a example of the asphalt pump track. So you can see at the bottom two imagery, those are the construction. You have to lay down a base essentially of what your form is going to be, and then you're essentially just throwing asphalt compacted over the top of that. And a lot of places will end up putting artificial turf in between the asphalt, just because it is no maintenance essentially at that point. You don't need to do that, but we can discuss that a little bit further as well. And again, with the users for pump tracks, whether it is in asphalt or it's going to be a modular, concrete, or composite, essentially anybody with wheels can be out here. So this shows skateboards, BMXers. We even have people with wheelchairs that have been using a lot of the parks that we've designed, which is great. And then we'll get into slope style lines here. So when you're looking at a slope style line, essentially it is a linear pump track just with a lot more prefabricated features. These can range from beginner to advanced, and they can be natural surface if you do have a substantial slope. But again, we prefer it to be asphalt or chip seal, just because depending on the location, you can put it basically wherever you prefer with that then. These are low risk and high reward style of mountain biking. So because a lot of the prefabricated features are pre-engineered, everything is going to be much safer. And these do come at a higher price to put in the slope style lines, but you get higher use, you get a higher safety level, and then these are built to last. So the closest one that is going to be to where you guys are at is actually a park that we designed this past year. It's going to be down in Sioux City, Iowa. So if you get a chance, I would go down that way. Or we are showing a bunch of places down in Rogers, Arkansas. That's where the closest would be. You guys are probably familiar with this closer to where you're at over in Duluth and then the Cuyuna area, the gravity or flow trail. So these are going to be the one-way downhill trails for riders. So it's essentially downhill without pedaling. They can range from 48 inches and be a little bit wider, but these are big jumps, big berms, bridges, rocks, basically as many features as you want to be adding to it on your way down. These are highly sought after trails over in the Duluth area that I know, and then also in the Cuyuna area. These are and will allow for more speed, and typically they are more desired than the single track trail. These do have a little bit more of a cost to them just because of the more features, but generally close to a single track or mountain bike optimized regular trail. On to adaptive mountain bikes. So with all of the trails that we have discussed, if the trails are 60 inches or wider, these adaptive bikes can go over them. So with a lot of the bike park stuff that we are putting in the concepts, and then the single track that we have proposed, we want them to be mountain bike, adaptive mountain bike capable. So as you can see from all these imagery, people can go over all sorts of different obstacles. They can go uphill, downhill. A lot of these are battery powered or single assist. They're very capable.
So going into some of our initial site analysis, so we took in all of those different trail user types and user experiences and did a series of initial focus area studies to understand what could fit where. This is still in the phase where we were purely desktop based, and just getting a better understanding of each of the sites and how different pieces could fit together. So this was focus area 1, again, the Pullman Avenue. Focus area 2 was off of Omaha. Again, a variety of different ways that things could be configured along this site, from parking to pump tracks to slope style courses and skills area. And then we also did a study for the third site at Memorial Park, again, showing some of those other options and what would be possible within those areas. So from those initial studies, we conducted a site visit in October and did some on-site analysis to ground truth some of those initial thoughts and getting a better understanding of each of the sites and what's available and what our constraints truly are once we saw them on the ground. So the first site, Pullman Avenue, had a really great option, the wide open field with very minimal existing infrastructure constraints. There were some needs for the right of way to be maintained for well access, along with existing access to the walking path. But that also there are some opportunities to provide a few different additional amenities for trail users that are already using the walking trails, such as restrooms and additional parking. But this site has room for multiple bike park amenities. There's really good slopes, gentle topography, with ideal grades for some of those slope style type courses. If there's an existing access point that's easy to get to and maintain. It also provides proximity to some wooded area that has an opportunity for connectivity for some of those more natural surface bike optimized type trails. And one of the biggest benefits, I think, is the proximity to the schools in downtown with easy access for kids to get to this site. The second site we looked at was the Omaha Street site. Again, another wide open field with great opportunity, really good slopes and access, great grades for some of those more gravity oriented features. This site, being in the heart of the lakefront area, was really great for the potential for additional community amenities, and it's a slightly bigger site, so there's more room for additional community type features within this site. It also has great access to the schools in downtown for easy access for kids. And some of the biggest constraints with this one were some of the existing utilities and infrastructure that were on the site, including some electrical lines and fiber optic cable. There's also some neighboring properties and existing pathways to think about as we were looking at the concept development for this site. Right. The third site we looked at off of Memorial Park Drive was fairly wooded site. The site has a lot of potential for some natural surface trails. It also had some really good slope and interesting terrain features within the woods, and has some potential connectivity to existing pathways and other trails. This site offered the most constraints though, because of the wooded area and the needs to really create one of those more bike park oriented developments. There would be a ton of grading and clearing that would have to happen to make this site really a potential. And there was a lot of limits from the terrain for some of those other like bike park features, such as the pump track and skills line. There's also a driveway easement that bisected the site, really cutting it in half and limiting what could happen within the woods. And then in the open areas and flat areas of the site, there's the Memorial Park, the ball fields, and the other existing development. There's also limited areas for expanded parking within that site. So, and then the main part of that park, as you know, is less connectivity because of the industrial development within the separating that site from the other two sites. So while we were there doing our ground truthing of the three sites, we also had some community engagement with local trail groups and trail users coming along with other folks from the community. And we were there to hear what the community was interested in. And
can I make a request? Just, is there any way that you can make that larger so the folks in the room can see what is on their screen?
Is that better? I'm showing the full screen.
That is better. For me.
Okay.
it's close.
Sorry. So the community engagement, some of the things that we heard that, folks in Washburn were looking for is big jumps and concrete pump track or other durable surface, trails for all ability levels, amenities like tool stations and washroom or bathrooms. Very interested in how it was like Cayuta Bike Park. Being close to school was really important. There was potential for school kids to use that as part of the class. And kids very interested in a place to just hang out. That was really important to some of the youth that we heard while we were there. There's also a desire for advanced features within the bike park, and also providing access to the community without having to have car access. The NICA team was also looking for a support facility for progression and skills development. We heard that like the top track type like playground wasn't as important to the community. People were more interested in, yes, the beginner features, but not just exclusively focusing on the 3-4-year-old crowd. Quality features were important, as with stormwater infrastructure. Ideas for additional amenities also included a picnic pavilion and a community gathering space, but there wasn't much interest in providing, say, lighting, wanting to preserve the night sky. And this was really great because the kids were really involved and really excited about what they were interested in, trying to our concept reflects trying to showcase what they were looking for in the plan. So from all of the analysis and the community engagement, we came back and developed 2 concept plans along with this overall plan. So there's an overall site plan for both what we're calling focus area 1 and 2. Focus area 1 again is on the Holman Avenue site. Both of these overview plans showcase some more of that connectivity and bike optimized and gravity oriented trails. So in this one, the Holman Avenue site is the selected site for the bike park with its connectivity to some beginner bike optimized trails that would connect through the wooded areas to the campground area, along with providing some connectivity to the existing ATV trail with opportunities for some additional skill trail features along that route. And then on the eastern side of the lakeshore area, providing connectivity between the existing walking trail along the wooded area, along the park to a gravity oriented small system. Within these this overall like community connectivity trails, there's about 1.5 miles to 1.75 miles of trail development opportunities. So it's not a huge mileage area, but there's ample opportunities to provide some of that natural surface riding experience within town for beginners to advanced riders. So it really looks to promote a little bit more diversity in trail types within the town itself. So looking more closely at the site development, the Holman Avenue site, this site takes advantage of the existing access and expands on that parking area. And again, providing some additional amenities such as restrooms and kiosk and connectivity to the walking trail. Within the site, there's a variety of bike amenities, including skills trails for beginner, intermediate, and advanced riders. This one is showing a asphalt pump track, and as we go through this, we're showing slightly different features in both of the sites, knowing that like there's still opportunity for either one to be identified as the preferred option. again, the slope style lines that provides opportunities for beginner, intermediate, and advanced riders. With a variety of features that allow for progression and jumps and skill building. And then there's an overall trail around the outside of this, the meadow area that also provides connectivity to those natural surface trails. While doing that, it also maintains a buffer from that existing walking path, which is along the edge of the waterfront. Moving to the second focus area. Again, the same layout of community connectivity and natural surface trails, but this one has the bike park focus area at the Omaha site. And then again, the Omaha site, we were looking to provide some additional community amenities and identified a variety of opportunities that could take place here, along with those bike park focused amenities, which are happening along the northeast side of the property. So again, this site provides opportunity for parking along Omaha Street, off-street parking. Some ideas from additional things based on what we've heard as an opportunity for a food truck venue. Looking at maybe there's a space for a pavilion, a potential for a splash pad or natural play area, along with amphitheater and then restrooms. And those would all be happening on that upper edge of the park in the flat grassy area across from the theater. This site also looks at rerouting the existing ATV trail. Instead of bisecting the site that would just dump it off on Central Avenue, it reroutes it along the wooded edge of the property, separating it from some of the other park activities while still maintaining access through the site. And that would be fenced off with ideally a split rail fence to just provide some separation there. This leaves a large area of the site untouched as just an open meadow area, along with other areas for open natural meadow areas. Within the bike park amenities on the second focus area, we're showing that concrete pump track as an other option, along with some connectivity to some skills trails. And then again, those slope style lines. This is showing a reduced version with a beginner, and then the intermediate and advanced lines, sharing some of the main lines with features that would have opportunities for intermediate and advanced riders along that route. This plan also identifies an area for a drop zone for an additional opportunity for skills development within this bike park diagram. So just looking at some of those additional amenities that and different features to think about for these parks. Just some details of the split rail fencing, opportunities for the rain gardens and bioswale and stormwater infrastructure, native plant restoration areas, and then the use of some of the native materials such as the rail line timbers and local stone that's found around the area. We're also looking at some of those other site amenities, such as that band shell amphitheater space, restrooms and pavilions, possibility for changing structure, bike repair station and kiosk. So there's opportunities for a variety of things to happen on both of these sites, but the Omaha site definitely has the larger site area for some additional community amenities if that was desired as part of the plan. So that's what we have here for really the presentation, and we can kind of open up for questions if you want to go through with that.
Yeah, this is Erica on the phone. Could we, committee, are you in favor of asking questions first and then perhaps opening the floor?
I guess that's,
Or which way do we want to do this?
I guess that's up to the committee. If you guys want to open the floor and listen to folks first, and then you can have questions. Or you can just laugh.
I moved to open the floor, but yeah, I would move to open the floor when we're ready, but I'd specifically like to hear, I guess, from community members, sort of how they see themselves involved in maintenance and caring for this. Because overall I'm supportive, but I am thinking a little bit about long-term maintenance and that type of thing. And I don't know, Imrab, if you guys could speak to that at some point in time, what is the usual lifespan of some of these features, and what are maintenance costs typically, and how do groups, you know, like friends groups and things, get involved with helping an entity like the city to care for that type of stuff?
Okay, yeah, thanks, Erica. I guess, Tony, do we wanna bring like any of the Washburn side of the group that the steering committee up to see if they have anything that they would like answer those kind of questions, or do we wanna? I'm not sure.
Side of the.
Well,
Oh.
well, like there's a steering committee, or there's like Charmaine and some of the folks that
Oh.
we've been on the calls with. That started like working with, they got the grant monies.
Yeah.
Yeah, like bring them up first and have some discussion.
Sure.
Or
we
they
do
can,
that.
I'm sure you guys have some stuff you wanna say, and then we can kind of just go from there. So, I guess that would be, I think, a good way to start.
Okay.
So Charmaine, do you wanna come up and chat with Kelly? Just to kind of maybe answer, that way you guys can present, when we start answering a bunch of questions.
Yeah, and yeah, thanks. Can you hear me? Charmaine Swan, sort of the de facto or interim president, that's what we're calling it, of the Washburn Steering Committee, Washburn Bike Park Steering Committee, excuse me. I and several of the people here in the audience, as well as Scott online, have been meeting. Well, we were part of getting the grant money to hire IMBA to do this work. And then also been just meeting over the past few months to really emphasize that community engagement piece and make sure that we're, you know, getting everybody's feedback and input, and especially our youth. So as far as the maintenance, I mean, the specific questions that Erica had would probably be best answered at some point by Liz and Ryan. I know we have, that's been something we've been hearing and been talking about this whole time, because obviously who's going to maintain something like that? I think that would be a focus of the project moving forward, should it be approved. So know that maintenance is something that we are aware of, we are thinking of, we're looking to IMBA to influence, you know, some of that conversation, and how creative we would get, or, you know, if there would be money set aside with dollars that we would raise to pay for those types of things. But just know that that's something that we've been talking about this whole time, because we know that's a question that's going to come up. As far as, I feel like, I wonder, I mean, we have youth on our steering committee that I'd really like to make sure they have a chance to speak. I don't know if you want to hear from them as a part of this, or if you want to hear from them in public comment. And then we have a few other members here who have some different things to share than I would.
Okay, no, I think we can continue with the steering committee, like kind of the group that's bringing this forth, and then we'll open the floor for community input. So I kind of think of this all as like an initial presentation of your organization.
Yep.
Great.
And I can weigh in a little bit on the maintenance questions. So as we're looking at some of, you know, there's opportunities for this to be a collaboration, I think, between the parks, between the city and some of the bike organizations in the community. I think a lot of those natural surface trails, there's a lot of opportunity there for collaboration and use for maintenance and maybe trail days and things to help maintain those sites. Some of the more durable surface, slope style, or the pump tracks, most of those are very minimal maintenance. But that would be something that would probably need to be maintained by the city, as far as like asphalt, just that normal upkeep of like sealing, an inspection of some of the features yearly, just to understand how, you know, understanding like the bolts and things, everything that's being maintained properly, but that would be less of a volunteer opportunity on those, but having these pre-engineered features and durable surfaces, there's not a lot of overhead maintenance that needs to happen on those type of facilities.
I do have a question regarding that. This is Susan Hall, on the committee. Are these materials, are there different rated materials depending on the climate that they're in? We have pretty extreme weather here and wondering if the cement features are, you know, kind of rated for the kind of, extreme cold and, you know, the kind of things that make sidewalks heave and roads heave. Kind of curious about if there's different levels of construction that take into consideration where they're going to be installed.
Yeah, and if we look at, so say, going back to the presentation, hopefully you can see this. Just showing, so for those prefab pump track features, that's set on a durable base, a gravel base that prevents frost heaving. That's a very minimal, like it's there will be minimal needs for that surface, along with say the asphalt because of how it's constructed. So those are quite they're rated and put in places very similar to Washburn and that type of climate.
Thank you.
This is Erica again. Sorry, I know I can't see anyone. Does anyone know how Stage North feels about this? Or I know we heard from a lot of folks, and I guess in the interest of time, you know, we all read the support letters. I think we all know. I mean, I'm not sure how much public comment we want tonight, but I know in general we've heard how people feel about this. So I feel like I've heard that out pretty well. I'm just kind of curious, though, in addition to the businesses we did hear from, like how the Stage North feel, or maybe some of the other ones that are nearby that we haven't heard from.
Okay, yeah, no, I would imagine at this point, this is just conceptual, and I don't
Yeah,
think, like, I think in terms of the.
Yeah, to address Erica, your question, we have had contact with the owner of Stage North and his daughter that manages the bar. And at this point, most of our conversation has been with his daughter and her partner, and they seem pretty excited about the idea that something could happen across the street that would be conducive with what they're doing. And there was an email connection between myself and the owner of Stage North, and we haven't had a chance to sit down and chat, but that's definitely on our radar for that site. You know, and I think a lot of it really depends on what happens from the Parks and Rec committee, you know, how much more of your fingerprints you get on this before it goes to city council, for example. But it's hard to have some of those conversations with those business owners without knowing what site seems to be preferential.
Right, and this, yeah, that's it. And we'll talk a little bit, maybe Tony, we can go through process a little bit. Like kind of what the expectations are of this committee. And some of the thoughts, but I guess, you know, in the effort of time, do you have anybody else that wants to speak from your steering committee? We can just start there. Yes.
So Axel and Harper are a part of the steering committee.
Okay.
Yeah, is this working? I don't really know how to use this one. But I'm Harper Hollis Heidenreich, and I'm a local NICA racer whose goal is to get more kids on bikes. I'm also one of 2 junior grant ambassadors in the state, which is an organization that's through NICA that is specifically to get more girls on bikes. And which is how I work through this, and we're working really hard on that.
I'm Axel Swan. I'm also a NICA racer on the same team. And I'm a freshman at Washburn High School. And I really want a place to practice my skills and hang out with my friends in Washburn. Me and all the other bikers that I know consistently travel to go to bike parks and big locations around the country. And I haven't been out of the country to go yet, but we all enjoy having access to them and would appreciate having one of our own in our own town. that we don't have to drive hundreds of miles to. Bike parks give us a variety of progressive skills to work and improve on, as well as helping our race skills sometimes, which would be pretty nice.
Having a bike park in the community would also encourage us and all these other kids, both ones who are currently biking, ones who might want to learn, and ones who haven't even thought of it yet, to learn new skills and spend more times outdoors and on bikes. Riding bikes also improves kids' mental health, and speaking from experience, I always, absolutely always feel better when I'm outside and biking.
And these are just a few of the reasons why getting kids on bikes is really a really important thing. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks. This is Axel Swan and Harper Hollis Heinrich.
Thank you.
That's all we have to say.
Anyone else from your committee need to speak? Yeah. Doug,
And I speak
as a part of the steering committee.
for, yeah. A bit of both, yes.
I was prepared to have a member comment on this steering committee, I don't know. So I do have like a 2.5 minute speech. I'll just run through it in the interest of time. Good
Tell us your
evening.
name, Doug.
Oh, sorry, I am Douglas Amon. Good evening, people of Washburn and our representatives. Today I stand before you to highlight the value and benefits of a bike park will do for our community. A bike park isn't just a collection of ramps and trailers, it's a hub of activity, a vibrant space that fosters community spirit. Here's why bike park is not just a recreational asset, but a vital pillar of well-being and advancement for the community. Firstly, a bike park promotes active lifestyles and fitnesses amongst all age groups, children's, teenagers, adults, seniors, and even disabled veterans like myself are encouraged to move and follow physical activities right here in town. Riding bikes not only improves cardiovascular health, but also enhances balance and coordination as we all need and age in shuffling through the snow and ice here in Washburn. There's also concerns with our kids and their sedentary lifestyles. It's become a pandemic, and diabetes is going to shorten the lives of our young ones. A bike park becomes a sanctuary, encouraging people to embrace an active way of life. Moreover, it serves as an avenue of fostering a sense of camaraderie and belonging to our community. Families spend quality time together, friends cheering each other on, strangers forming new connections, all under the love of biking. An activity that unites us, that this country needs more of. A bike park creates a sense of community and bonds. It forges friendships and strengthens our space. People from different backgrounds and they break down barriers. Additionally, this land has been unused for years, if not decades. This is a mutually beneficial compromise that acknowledges that many, if not the majority of interests, in my opinion. Beyond its recreational value, the unique place for food trucks and outdoor amphitheater could ultimately contribute to the growth of this community, and Washburn could also repurpose some of the green space on Main Street to help even growing demands and create more revenue for the city. Furthermore, a bike park presents an investment in our youth, provides a positive outlet for energy and creativity, steering them away from desirable activities. Through biking, youngsters can learn essential lifestyles and like preservation, determination, and discipline. It instills a sense of responsibility and respect for the environment as it engages one in nature in a sustainable and economical manner. A bike park is more than just ramps. It's a catalyst for a holistic community. It promotes health, fosters connections, bolsters the local economy, and nurtures the next generation. By embracing a park, we invest in not just in the physical space, but in the well-being of our community. Thanks for listening.
Okay, so, first of all, I think, Tony on the agenda was like the presentation. Is there anything else from the Parks Committee that the city was looking for tonight? In terms of,
Not necessarily, but I did put action on there in case there's any action that the committee wanted to take. I would think moving forward, Obviously, if this is something that the committee supports, there should be a motion to support it. But along that same vein, there's a couple different locations that have been proposed for that. And I think we need greater discussion into the benefits and the drawbacks of either location.
Okay, so just so everyone's clear, the Parks Committee is just a, you know, we get our direction from the council and we don't make any, decisions, right? And so like Tony said, the Parks Committee is kind of that first filter and recommends things to the council and was basically created to help and do some of the work and do some of like the groundwork and stuff, so that things, when things did go to council, that, you know, it was, some of that stuff, like Tony was saying about the sites and stuff, has been worked through. In this particular instance, I always think that this is kind of like the chicken and the egg thing, right? So before you put a lot of work into something and figuring something out, it's nice to know like what the city, which this body really doesn't represent in terms of like, again, we recommend like with the city council or the city administration, you know, thinks of something like this. So I do struggle a little bit of like how much I'm trying to lessons learned from the dog park, right? And so we had a similar thing several years ago about a dog park in our community, and it came to the Parks Committee. We kind of went back and forth. We looked at sites, and you know, and at some point you just have to be like, okay, is this something that the city or the council feels like it's something, you know, to work on, versus putting a lot of work on, going to council and saying, no, the council says, no, you know, this is not something that we're interested in partnering because of this and this. So I do have a little bit of, I guess, I am unclear of the path.
Well, and given that we are just seeing the presentation for the
First
first time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unlikely to delay any action until, to delay it until the next meeting. You know, maybe we can get these designs in paper and just look at those a little more closely and then bring it back to the committee next month.
Okay, and then I guess,
This is Erica, Jen. Do we have any idea? I mean, I know how I feel, I guess, and I think I know where I would lean even at this point in time with this information, but I also with Susan went to the other the other meeting at the library. I would just be curious if we could get a little bit more fleshed out proposal in terms of not necessarily maintenance costs, but just upfront costs or implementation costs, because I think when we make a recommendation to the city council, you're right, we don't need to have every I dotted and T crossed, but they are going to want more information, and they're more likely to just punt it back to us if we don't present them a little bit of a fuller picture, other than just a location recommendation. That's how I think they would probably respond.
yeah, thanks, Erica. I guess what we can do is see if anyone else has any. Jeremy had a question. Ask if we have any other questions within our committee, then we can talk about if we want to open the floor, so there's some people here tonight. So go ahead, Jeremy.
Did I miss something on a prior meeting about the funding for this? I mean, this all looks awesome. I would love to have this happen, but
No,
are we?
there's been no funding, so
So-
they applied for a grant and got a grant on their own.
Sure, so, and then, but I mean, this looks, but I saw some prices like $1 million, which, I mean, that sounds great, but I mean, what is the plan to fund this? Is the group here saying this is something the city pays for? Are you paying for it and you just need a place to put it? I just could use some clarity around that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Charmaine, you want to answer that? Or Callie, or somebody want to talk through the thoughts on that?
That's correct. We haven't, I mean, as far as we've gotten around the funding conversations was to get the $20,000 grant from IMBA. And then, you know, as far as next steps, really would be looking towards other funding sources, grants. Some of the conversations that I've had with Kelly from Extension in her capacity there really are thinking about this space in a more broad sense because of the potential for other monies that might be available versus if the focus is just Hump Track, for example. So really at this point, our steering group and the conversations that we've had are squarely focused on, is there land in the city that the city would be willing to set aside for this purpose. What would that purpose be based on community engagement and the recommendations from IMBA? And then going from there to see if we can get and secure funding. Whether that's private, whether that's grants, whether that's fundraising, I mean, that part of the conversation is down the line. But I don't think that our group is expecting that the city would be paying for this.
No, I appreciate that, and I think, again, like with the dog park, you know, I know often they would come back and say, well, we can't go for funding unless the city says, you know, like we have land to do this, so sometimes like it kind of goes back and
Yeah.
forth, you know.
I will be, just to be clear, we've worked with Tony, so the grants were written, I mean, we helped write them, but Tony submitted.
The city is
city,
was the
yeah.
recipient because they are not a
Enough.
formal nonprofit to
Yeah.
receive funding, yeah.
And how that relationship continues down the line, if we need to figure out a way to maybe coordinate with other nonprofits in town, or we can cross that bridge when we come to it, but right now, it's really just, is there support from the city to use city land for a purpose like such as being proposed?
Okay, perfect. Thank you for clearing.
Yep.
Does that help, Jeremy?
Yeah, for sure.
And I have to leave for
Okay.
a class that I teach up the street, so
Okay.
there are folks here that might want to speak, should you open it up, and there would be other comments in addition to myself. But just really, thank you for hearing. I just wanted to say before I leave, thank you for listening to the presentation and for incorporating a steering committee's perspective as well, so really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you've done.
Okay. I do have a question for the group or the steering committee is, will there be a user fee associated with this, bike park? Any kind of revenue that gets generated from the people who use it?
So, and Kelly Peterson, UW Extension, I've been acting as an advisor to the group. Often we see that community groups, especially if they're not a formal nonprofit, have a really hard time sort of maintaining long-term engagement with the city. So we've been supporting them with backbone support so that they have, especially through this grant writing process. So I'm not speaking on behalf of it, but I can kind of share some of the discussions that I've been involved with. So user fee is typically what we've seen in other bike parks is that are not fee generating. And maybe Ryan or Liz can talk about other ways that they have seen that, but I think that's been our understanding.
Yeah, for city facilities, we generally don't see a fee associated with a bike park of this size. You generally see a fee associated more with a mountain resort related bike park. Generally, those are more fee-based that are larger, have more trail opportunities, more gravity trails, other bike amenities. Many of the community bike parks across the country, they do not charge a fee for this type of facility. Can you speak any more to that, Ryan? I was thinking of Belmont, but I don't know if there's a fee on that one.
Yeah, typically it's more of a public park setting, but if you're gonna hold larger events, then I would say that's where the majority of the fees would be if it is if the city is holding the event.
I think the other piece just to note is, one of the challenges for the group, right, is, the difference in cost between the different sites is significant, right? And what those amenities might look like. And so, I think the group has, what we've imagined and discussed with the city, in terms of process is that this is iterative, right? There's some interest here, which site might make more sense, what's available at that site. Different sites might reflect different, sources for private and public funding. And so what that all looks like is site dependent to some degree. And so I think this isn't, process, not so much that it's a decision today and that's the end decision, right? But that it's iterative.
Right. Great. Hi, Jeremy.
I wonder if, as we're talking about who to speak, I see the mayor is online and I see a city council person. Wondering if they have any questions, if they'd like to add anything, any perspective on this.
Yeah, Mary, did you hear that?
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
And I don't mean to put city council members in the audience on the spot, but if they wanted to open the door, if they were interested in addressing the group,
Is it legal?
why not?
No.
I'm a Parks Committee member, you're asking me? It's a publicly announced meeting, so.
Yeah, it's,
And there will be no actions taken by any other committees other than the Parks Committee. That's on the agenda.
I don't necessarily have any questions. I'm Dave Anderson, City Councilor in Washburn here. I just support, any efforts, to, get a bike park in here 1000%. It's the amenities we need to attract young families that we are, slowly, losing. And I think at this point, I think what we need is just a commitment that we're going to, put some land aside, right? I mean, I think that's what, is that what they're really asking for at this
Yeah.
point, is
Yep,
to
that's
find
what
a
they said.
location, that, a commitment from the city that we support this, or at least the Parks Committee supports this, and then the city council can decide whether or not to set aside a piece of land to move this project forward as, budgets and grants and that kind of thing can come. So,
yeah, I agree.
I don't necessarily have any questions, but I support it a bunch, so
Thanks, Dave.
onward.
Go ahead. Charlie.
I guess if I was to make a motion or what we could move forward with, I guess I don't, as a Parks Committee, I favor it. I have a site in mind that I think is better than the other. But I guess before I invest any more time, I want to know that the city council has got, a spirit for this. So I guess if I would make a recommendation, maybe we make a motion to push this to city council to get just a vote, like, are you guys for this or not? If so, then I'm willing to invest a little bit more time into the planning of it.
Okay, so we actually have a motion on the floor, so that.
I
Would
didn't make
you-
it yet.
Would you
Oh, no, you're-
propose a specific location or
Well, I think that's.
either
discussion.
one to
So
council? Is
I,
that- I mean, that may cause more commotion.
I would, this is Erica, I would make a motion for a specific location, because I think council's gonna ask for that.
Okay, so, so I think we can have some discussion on location, I guess, before somebody feels, compelled to make a motion. And before we do that, would you like to open the floor? And you don't have to, but I think this would probably be a good time to do that, and then we can close the floor and have a discussion, and you can determine if you wanna make a motion or not.
I move that we open the floor.
I have a second.
do you want to put a time limit on it?
So public comment typically is 3.
Right, 3 minutes, that's what you had said that, so.
Second,
No, but can we put it,
So the motion is to open the floor for public comment. Public comment is, we've always done 3 minutes. We've never done anything different.
I know she's talking about
You mean for 15 minutes, give it a 15-minute.
Oh, wow, you guys don't have an appetite like I see it all night long.
I sit in the chair sometimes till midnight.
It would be helpful if we could see it, show hands of the number of people who'd like to speak.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
let's do it.
So that's.
Right. Okay, so, all those in favor of opening the floor?
aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we will go ahead and what you need to do is when, just step up to the microphone and then, state your name, and you have to, get a little book up there, right, Tony, where they,
There's a sign-in sheet,
little
yes.
sign-in sheet, where you state your name, write your name and your address in there. So you can just come forward. It's a safe place. I swear. Tonight it is anyways.
Excellent. You guys hear me fine? All right, Dave Hollis. I'm the president of North Coast Cycling Association. We put on the Bike Across the Bay as well as the Superior Vistas with the Washburn Chamber of Commerce. I don't know if everybody got the email I sent. I did prepare an email, but I will go ahead and read it here as well.
We did.
We read it.
Yep.
Oh, everybody read it?
Yep. We do our homework here.
Excellent. Well, I'll just sum it up then. Don't have to go very far into it. We are enthusiastically supporting the bike park here in Washburn. Based off, like, as you read in the email, there's so many benefits of having that here for the community. Especially like what your councilman also said, is it's a big draw to bring families in. You know, right now, we've been driving down the cable 10, 15 times a summer just to go use theirs. So that's the closest one. That's separate from just the regular bike trails up at Aspen Ridge, which are really close. So we are very excited to have something a little closer to home for all of our members that are here in Washburn, Ashland, Bayfield, everywhere. You know, it's just a much closer location. Yeah, I'm glad you guys all read the email, but thank you very much. Do you have any questions for us as well? Okay. We would happily work with you guys in the future as well, to kind of help with any of the developments and some of the, probably maintenance even with this as well, so.
In your Northwood cycling?
North Coast Cycling.
Oh, North Coast. I thought there was another one. I was like, oh.
No, we've got a much younger
I was
demographic.
gonna say, you're just a new face for me. I'm just getting older.
I do have some white hair.
All right, no,
Not
that's
a
good.
ton.
It's all good.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Avery Jenke. I live in Washburn. I'm a mountain biker. I'm still earning my stripes, but I've been active with trail work at Mount Asheville Bay, grooming trails there. I moved to Washburn 3 years ago. And 9 months ago, my partner and I, we decided to buy a house in Washburn. So that's significant because I work in Mellon and I'm a forester there. And it's also kind of ironic because I bought a house across the street from 2 different ranger stations that I don't work at here in Washburn. But, you know, we had the choice to live closer to Mellon and we didn't. And a big reason for that was the bike scene here in Washburn. So for being such a little town, you know, there's a lot of things to like about Washburn, but the bike community is pretty strong here. So I just want to tell you a little bit about Mount Asheville Bay. I don't want to steer this away from the bike park, but so those trails are like going on 10 years old at this point. There's something like 20 miles of trail up there. A lot of it's professionally built. So this is like really good trail. A lot of money has been spent on those trails. We're talking like tens of thousands of dollars. You knew that or realized that. So Bayfield County, they keep track of the number of users. So over the last 3 years, I looked into this. They're averaging during the peak season, which is May through October, 250 users a week at the Asheville Bay Trail System, just on bikes. So we're talking like up to 100 users on Saturdays in the summer. So that's quite a bit of use. And really all of these bikes are driving through Washburn. And I would think that a lot of them actually live pretty close. So what does this have to do with the bike park? We wouldn't be talking about this bike park without Asheville Bay and kind of the bike scene that we have here. You know, I bought a house here because there's a bike scene here. That's important to me. So a bike park, it complements those trails. It builds the bike community. It brings up the next generation of bikers, or maybe people that wouldn't be biking otherwise. And maybe even a bike park becomes the destination itself. People use the bike park and they never ride the trails at Asheville Bay. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mike Weisfeld. I live in Washburn, just up the street. I guess I'm in support of this bike park. I have 2
young individuals that would use this, and then probably two older individuals, myself and my wife, who would use this as well. We would also use it within the community for the NICA team, which is the bike team that involves school-age kids in racing in the area. Two of the members spoke earlier. We use various steps to build skills, and this would provide a venue in order to do that in a safe way that's accessible to not just more intermediate level riders that would be comfortable with this, but this would also help younger, newer riders learn to gain skills in a way that's would be able to be transferable up to the trails at Ashland Bay, and that's the step that we need for our bike club. Another point that would be in favor of the Pullman Lakeview Drive one is next summer we're going to open our back door to the world. Basically, it's coming through because that's going to be the detour for our highway project. You know? And I think a lot of people are going to start to experience what we view as residents frequently. It's going to be more available to everyone to see. There'll be something different from the usual path that people take when they're going further up the peninsula towards Bayfield and whatnot. And just that'll be a great place to have access or have an amenity for people to use and appreciate the lake in the area. And yeah, the trails at Ashland Bay, I've been involved with that since they've started, tying the flags on the first trees, turning the first shovelful of dirt, and now continuing with the maintenance. It's a lot of work and over time, but it's a natural surface. I think the people from IMBA, Ryan and Liz,
Yes.
sorry, make a good point about what type of features would fit to help our long-term maintenance and use questions that we have asked. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Courtney Welch. I live in Washburn too, just up on 12th Street. I wasn't gonna say anything, but we are one of those families that travels to Cuyuna and Bentonville, and to think that we could have something in our community here, just the vibrancy and the community, it would be really exciting. And I know we're not gonna expand that, but to be able to get into that and just have the community out and about in the area, I think it's a great opportunity for Washburn to get active people and just to outreach. So I'm very supportive.
Thank you.
Make us stay up here a long time when we want to leave.
I know. We like those painful silences here, it's like the elevators. Anybody else? Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa Weissman. I sent you all a letter earlier. I'm sure you guys all read it because you're so well read. I don't have anything prepared, but I just Mike's my husband. He talked just a little earlier. Just want you to know that in spirit of community building, back before this Parks Committee was here, we did the Jackie's Field project. And we came together with members of the community. Everybody supported it. We got brand new playground equipment put in, which was fantastic. All with community support. There was no money there that the city came with, except for when we were, putting everything in. They helped us with the cost of installation, which was great. And this project is a lot more expensive than that, but I think that Washburn and the surrounding community is capable of helping with this. There's a lot of support that you see from people who have a big stake in mountain biking. As far as maintenance goes, there's a lot of groups that would help with that. Through the NICA team, through just people like Avery who would help and groups like that. So I think that this would be a great thing for Washburn as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody online that would like to speak for public comment? Okay, anybody else? Do you have more?
Troy Provost, I'm a Bayfield County resident, totally unplanned to speak, but I am thinking that, you know, minimal cost to the city, this would be a great addition to the city and would also benefit Washburn Hardware's bike shop, you know, a tax-paying business, just for the families, and I think it's a really good idea. I kind of really like the crossing the stage north location myself. That's good, and I think it would be a good benefit to the city of Washburn and the county in other places.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have two more, one statement and one more point. Several years ago, I was able to attend a presentation by former Mayor Ness from Duluth. And he pointed out that the city of Duluth, albeit probably paid for it themselves, something we probably can't do, but installing bike trails in certain communities was single-handedly the main reason certain communities in that area were revitalized from basic ruin. So, and then the second point I make, just because I'm a numbers guy, the 250 people that per week that visit Ashaway, if we were to get at least half of those, that's $500,000 in economic money that Washburn would tend to receive, because people typically spend on average about $200 a head per day in the community that they're in. So at 125 people a week times 20 weeks, $500,000. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The motion to close the floor, move to close the floor. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks for everybody who spoke. Conversation. Sure.
I can say that, I mean, I'm wondering if, you know, in terms of process, if the Parks Committee, at this point can decide to speak in favor of moving forward with trying to figure out how we can come up with a piece of property for this bike park. I'm a little reluctant having, I'd like a little more time to think about which site. I think they're not apples to apples. They're really two different sites. The things that were proposed for site 3 or site 2 are so far different from what was proposed for site 1. And I don't know how to make, at this point, have enough information to say, oh, I'm in favor of. I personally have an opinion, but I'd like to maybe know more about, have a little more time to consider.
Okay, thank you. You know, as a council person, right, for me, you know, there's no question that I support the effort, you know, like, and from this committee too, and this, like, having a bike, I mean, this is all great stuff. the thing I'm concerned about, which I'm a completely transparent, open person, everybody will probably know this, I'm just concerned on the sites. You know, the city of Washburn definitely has had other things come up on both of these sites, and we know from this committee how much work we put into to the yurt location that was with the RVs, and then it went to yurts, and now we have a referendum that's coming in front of, a direct legislation that is in the,
Referendum.
for a referendum for anything to go on the parkway, but that is only for commercial use, right? That would charge a fee. So something like this would not have to be part, well, we don't know. It doesn't matter, we don't know. The bottom line for me is that this is, we just know how controversial and how, like, getting everybody to like do something on the lake shore, this is a big step for there. So the Holman Drive piece, I have more concerns of than I do of a piece over by Omaha, strictly, you know, and same thing with Omaha. I do think that the council will have a lot of questions in terms of not doing something to increase the tax base on that piece of property. I just wish we had more property, you know, versus like the two locations are just, you know, they have, like you said, Susan, they have pros and cons, and I'm not so sure that this body, and that's something for you, Tony, I guess, maybe I'd like to hear a little bit more from you. I'm not so sure at this point, like if we were to recommend, I really liked, Jeremy's comment of, you know, putting it in front of council to get like the spirit, like did they support it and have that spirit for it? Before we spend a lot of time thinking about sites and pros and cons and things like that, because really the partnership with the city, or the city saying, yes, we are willing to set aside some property. We don't know which yet. Let's have some discussion on that. That is a big step right there. The city has a lot of things going on. It has a lot of different polls for, you know, city support and, you know, what we do for the community base. And I'm always in support of doing things for our community. I like to balance like things for our community. It's sometimes okay doing things for tourists, but I like to balance that and have stuff that for people that come through. But I like this proposal because it really is a lot for our community and our kids. And I think it would bring a lot. So Tony, your thoughts on kind of digging in a little bit more?
I
with
guess
the site?
just commenting on some stuff you just said. So going back to the example of the dog park, I believe that is something, a concept that went to council first, and then council recommended it back or to the Parks
To the
Committee.
Parks Committee. Okay.
So going to Jeremy's question, I mean, so I guess that is a possibility too. I mean,
Okay.
you could make a motion to ask council what they think,
Okay.
or just go speak with them. You know, between now and the next time we meet, individually, there's nothing wrong with doing that as well. You had brought up, the direct legislation referendum, which is occurring in April. The vagueness of that legislation makes it hard to say how anything on that parcel would work. Sure, it's recreational, there's no fee, so ideally, it shouldn't matter. But if there's a group that is doing a fundraiser or an event there, and they're charging a fee,
Right.
well, that's now a commercial activity. So then that would require going to a referendum to allow that to happen.
And that's okay.
So it's hard to say because of that, and because we don't know the outcome from that election or from
And I think
April.
that's just an extra step, like
Yep.
if that site was like the best set, you know, site that was selected. I mean, it's okay to spend time and go to the
Mhm.
referendum if that direct legislation does pass, and then that goes onto the ballot as something that's that whole point. That whole point is for it to go to referendum, and then you would know if the community as a whole supports that use on the waterfront. So it's actually, I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
completely opposed to something like that.
Yeah, I
because
mean,
it
and
does get set.
specifically with the locations,
Just one more step.
I mean, the one thing we know about the Omaha property is that there are utility easements there, which makes it difficult for other things to go there. But from another standpoint, if bathrooms are a necessity, it will cost more money on Holman Lakeview Drive. Because there are no utilities along there. It would require new utility lines. And possibly, and I don't know, maybe you know, Jerry, if we would need a lift station because it's lower than the sewer line. See,
There's no water or sewer.
yeah,
Water, there's a water. I take that back. There's a lift station down there for the condos.
okay. But it would need lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're talking about the Holman one, yeah, there's water and sewer that run right along that parking lot, they go down where they park and then walk to the trailer. So that's what they're doing right there. It's actually closer there than it is the other one.
The Omaha Street property, which is super real.
I thought it was right along Omaha.
No, Omaha and Holman both have water and sewer on both those, but one on Holman, the water and sewer is like literally right there. I mean, where they had the bathrooms, we were showing the bathrooms on there. It's right there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are you sure?
positive. I hit it.
Okay.
So there was a question in terms of the utility lines at that site.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, we've heard different things about that. Do we have any insight into like what the utility lines?
So
in that-
all the utilities on Holman are on the underground utilities are on the north side of the road. As far as fiber, power, gas, it's all on the north side of the road. Water and sewer come down Washington and they literally wrap around. Where we put that new culvert in,
Mhm.
they wrap right around that ravine and they go right underneath the road, and then they go down, then it goes down to that lift station,
On the other side.
so.
With the overhead lines that people talk about that are like one of the, no,
There's no overhead there, oh, the big ones?
the big ones, yeah.
We
And like
talked
those-
about that today, me and Tony were just talking, but that, they're proposing. There are no utilities in military as far as overheads.
For
site.
But on Omaha,
On Omaha,
yes, there are.
there is, but that would be for, I don't know that there would be a conflict of utilities there because. You could, as far as a track park or something, it would be a building utility, so you'd be able to place these buildings within the utilities then for the power line. But as far as the track and stuff goes.
Yeah, and I had this discussion with Liz, they identified that as well. And I think you just planned the track going over, but nothing actually building on, right?
Exactly, yeah, for the cable, the fiber optic, yeah, we looked at that and identified the option to, there could be a bridge, like a rainbow bridge that would be on both sides, but nothing would actually impact where the line is. I mean, you still have to have surveys and all of that done, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, Jeremy, so I guess in the spirit of Rose, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to say it's only 7:00. So go ahead.
So I feel like the nuance of where the utilities are, we're so
So far
beyond
away
that,
from that,
that's.
yeah.
So I guess, I'll make a motion that, this committee, is in favor of a Pike Park somewhere. And we would like, city council to weigh in if they, are as well.
I second. Any discussion on that motion? Purposely no location, just like if there's.
Yeah, because all the talk about utilities,
Yep,
where it is, where it goes, if city council's like, heck no, then we're all just spinning our wheels here.
Okay. All right.
I would like I would like, at least when the information goes to city council, to reflect that we did discuss the lakeshore location, because I can see a lot of folks that, value habitat and value the lakefront walking trail for peace and solitude, which is why I would not support a bike trail personally in that bike park in that location. But I would like us to be able to reflect whatever goes to city council that we did start discussing that, because I could see a lot of folks that are very sensitive to what would happen on the lakefront come to the city council meeting and automatically assume it could go there. Does that make any sense?
Well, and I think we just have to be very clear. So the motion is very much just like Jeremy said earlier, it's like the spirit of like, we support this concept. We don't have a location set, but direction for the Parks Committee to work with the group and just basically we support it as a group, as a Parks Committee. And we just wanna know what the council does also before we put any more
Yep.
work into it.
And once we know if they're for it, then let's start to ask a lot more questions. Review the materials that were shown tonight and take those next steps forward.
Okay,
Because it's beautiful to see the community participation here, and thank you for slogging through this with us.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Sounds good. So Tony, we're just gonna hand it over to you and you can put it on the city council agenda at your, whenever we have an opening. I don't think it'll be next month, right? It'll probably be the month after, likely.
Okay. Erica, did you vote nay on that or were you delayed?
She's delayed.
I think there's a delay for me.
Okay, so you were in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is it also possible to, I mean, if council supports it, to get the two designs that Liz showed for those locations? Because we have hard copies of the original concepts, but was there a second layer of design that you guys did that? And
Yeah, I just emailed Tony that presentation. There's a link to that anyone can download that presentation. It's a large file. That's why there's a link to that, so he can forward that to all of you to get access to that.
Beautiful, thank you,
Okay.
Liz.
Good.
Tony, would that be put on the website, the city's website?
The presentation,
Yep, and the supplemental materials that Liz was just talking about?
probably not. I mean, the designs would go into the council packet when it becomes on the council agenda.
Maybe
Okay, so people would see it then.
maybe Canva or one of these other organizations can put it on their website if people want to see it.
Mhm.
But that's not for us to decide.
Okay. We're gonna move on to the next agenda topic. Tony and I will work with the best way to get that in front of council and
Thank you.
presentation. Thank you,
I
everybody.
want to
for coming.
personally thank you all for showing up. This is, I think, something that has the ability to really have an impact. So thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you all for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Look forward to seeing this move forward. Thank
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you. All right.
Nobody cares about cable TV in the campground.
All right. Let's do it next. We'll try to move through the agenda now as quickly as possible and just like a quick updates from the Public Works Department. It's